Hello, I'm Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal, and in this video I'm going to be interviewing Loren. Loren set up a Search Engine Journal many years ago, and really as kind of a 10th anniversary update, I wanted to interview him about how it got started, what's really been behind it, and how it's changed over the years. Loren, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Murray. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So tell me, how did Search Engine Journal get started?
Well, it goes back to about 2002, 2003. I had been in the SEO industry for years, and at the time, there weren't really any blogs covering the industry. There were a handful of sites, like Search Engine Watch and others, which were pretty much considered e-zines at the time, or, I don't know, journalistic publications and tutorials about search, right? But for the most part, a lot of the conversation was going on within email newsletters, within forums, within other locations. So I was a pretty active participant in a lot of those, communication channels at the time, responding to questions, sharing thoughts, sharing research, things like that. But in 2003, the news came out that Google had bought Blogger.com, and really blogging was something that was just very unheard of. Beforehand, I mean, you really had to know how to code your own CMS or buy something on the enterprise thing, and just like self-publishing was incredibly expensive and time-consuming. When Google announced that they had bought Blogger.com, it really changed the landscape, and I saw that, basically owned content and self-publishing was the future. And I also saw the opportunity of there not necessarily being any blog leaders within the search space. So I decided to start my own blog. I wanted to own my own content as opposed to contributing to email newsletters and things like that. And then also bring in the audiences and connections that I had within those channels to be the audience of my own site. So first, I started looking for a domain, right? SearchEngineBlog.com was taken. That was my first choice. And then there was an argument going on at the time about whether or not blogs were going to be called web blogs, right? Because blog is short for web log,
Right.
and or journals, like live journal, like web journaling. So after doing some, more queries and searches for available domains, I ended up finding that Search Engine Journal was available, and it took me less than a second to snatch that up because, first of all, it did kind of support the whole blog aspect of the site. Secondly, instant credibility and association with publications like the Wall Street Journal, right?
Yes.
And then third, educational journals, medical journals. Anything like that. I really saw that helping as a marketing perspective in the future. So I set up SEJ on a Blogspot domain, searchenginejournal.blogspot.com, because that was pretty much one of the only ways to do so at the time. And then I just started blogging. I started summarizing a lot of the news that I was reading on CNET and other places. And also it was, at that time, right, 2003, that was... in many ways, the dawn of the new world of SEO. Google had just gotten popular in 2001. Yahoo started, having Google serving Google results in its search queries, and there was a lot of consolidation in the space too. Things like Google and Yahoo snatching up search advertising companies. Ask.com had become a major player, so there was quite a bit of news to write about. And it was still all new. So I was basically getting up every day, earlier than most, and pumping out 5 or 6 blog posts a day. And at the time, it was all experimentation. I didn't really have any readers, maybe 50 or 100 per day. But that really gave me the chance to play around, see what gained the most traction, see what gained the most interest. And then it just grew from there. In late 2003, early 2004, we ended up beta testing WordPress and moving moving from Blogspot over to well, actually it was called B2 at the time. And then once B2 evolved into WordPress, we were one of the first marketing publications to be on WordPress. So that's pretty much how things got started. And from there, by 2005, it became by 2004, 2005, it became almost a full-time job for me.
When did you start to get significant traffic and significant revenue?
About 2 months after I launched the site, I actually had an advertiser contact me asking for an ad space for $35 a month on the sidebar. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. That bought me dinner, basically, once a month. And from there, I started looking into new opportunities and avenues, getting involved with ClickBank and affiliate programs and things like that. Those always brought in a little bit of income, but nothing really significant. It wasn't until I started incorporating. I actually used to have about 5 different banners on the sidebar,
Right.
and there was a base price for advertising. But if you wanted to be at the top, you had to pay more, right? Almost like an auction system. But that really helped from a monetization perspective. But as the popularity of the site grew, 2004, 2005, and really probably hit my personal peak at 2006, 2007, the advertising opportunities flooded in. And one thing to also remember is that Google buying Blogger was basically a precursor to Google launching AdSense. So being right there and an established site and publication right when AdSense launched really helped a lot too, especially with the members of the search industry clicking on their own ads and things like that. I'm sure it helped a bit at the time.
So, what was, if you look back at that, what was the thing that you're most proud of, and the thing that really kind of hit it home for you most, and also what's one thing that you regret?
Good question. So the thing that really hit it home for me the most is that I wasn't really a conference goer.
Right.
When I launched Search Engine Journal, I wasn't living in the U.S. I was living in Brazil at the time. So I was really everything I absorbed and communicated was from what I found online. Later, I was living in Japan. Same thing. I would go to a couple conferences in Tokyo or whatever, but and met with Google Japan a couple times when they first launched there. But it's I was very disconnected from everything that was going on pretty much in the States. It
Right.
wasn't until 2006 I was invited to be on Yahoo Search Advisory Council
Mm-hmm.
with Michael Arrington and some others at the time, and went out to Santa Clara and the Bay Area, so to speak, and really saw that what I was writing about was the major industry that it is, and he got a chance to meet with the people who had read my coverage of their companies and their PR folks that wanted to get me more integrated into everything, and it really hit home because beforehand I was just staying up late at night or up early in the morning in my living room crunching through my thoughts on SEO and the industry, and I was also doing some consulting and contracting work, of course. So I was writing about my findings and things like that, but I really wasn't that integrated into what was going on. What was going on at the company level, and once that, first of all, when I was invited to be on that council with some of the people that were on it, I was flabbergasted, right? But secondly, when I first started attending conferences, it sounds cheesy, but having people walk up to me and letting me know how much they enjoyed reading the blog and things like that, it was then it really hit me that I had started something pretty large.
It's not until you meet the readers that you realize you have readers. Although you see the numbers.
Exactly. And there's always comments and there's always numbers. But when two things, a couple things happen. One, when someone comes up and says, "Well, what I read really changed my career or changed, the enhanced the success of our company within search," or we had read so much stuff out there that wasn't necessarily applicable, and what we read from you and those takeaways and action items at the bottom of your posts really helped us connect with what was happening on the search front and how to apply it in the day to day. That of course was really rewarding, to not only meet the people who were reading the blog, but hear stories about how what I had put together, again in my living room somewhere, blogging away and writing away, was actually making a difference, not only for me with the site, right, from a traffic perspective and everything else, but for the readers to turn to as a resource.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
And then, so moving forward, at what point did you start to take a step back, and also what else has this propelled you into? What are you doing now?
So where it really propelled was 2007, 2008. What I learned from publishing had helped extremely with how I was applying the content marketing techniques from the publishing world into the work that I was doing for my client base.
Right.
My clients were seeing remarkable success, and this was at a time when the world of linking was all about buying paid links and exact match anchor text, right?
Right.
But I would come in and lecture my clients or prospective clients on things like relevance and engagement, shareability, social interaction, and not even going after all kinds of exact match links and site-wide links. And what we saw from that, for the clients that really were comfortable, there are a lot of them were like, well, why should we do that when we can just go rent a bunch of links? And for the ones that actually listened, and brought me on, we saw some great success and helped them compete in markets that were highly competitive. Now, if someone walked into your office today and said that you should do all of that, you'd be like, great, that makes sense. At the time, it was kind of unheard of. I wanted the brands I worked with to basically become publishers in their own right, to get natural traction, natural links, natural coverage, and also relevance. As I marketed that more, I launched a consultancy arm off of Search Engine Journal, branded as being Search Engine Journal, but basically the spin was everything that I did on the blog and have learned from the blog and have learned from years of participating in search, I would apply to client strategies and help them with execution. That ended up becoming pretty lucrative, to the point where I started concentrating more on the consultancy and the services than I was on the blog. I was still blogging, but that's around the same time I started doing things like bringing in guest bloggers, looking for associate editors to help with the site as well, so I could focus on what I saw as being kind of the next wave, so to speak, from the services and consultancy side. At the same time, I tried a lot of things over the years. Like we had a mobilesearchblog.com and a local search journal and some other experiments. Actually, the mobile search blog was probably a little bit ahead of its time. So I was always trying to expand the content of the site, but at the same time, I got started in consultancy and agency work. I mean, my background, even before SEO, was interactive media buying, interactive ad campaigns, usability, things like that. So I've always been very interested in working on the client side, and started started building that out off of SEJ. And then later, what happened was that consultancy ended up growing, and took on partners through a series of mergers over the years to add more services and things like that on the consultancy side.
And if people want to connect with you, what kind of people do you want to connect with now?
You know, I enjoy connecting with just about anyone, really. I still get a lot of emails, and this is actually escalated over the past year. A lot of emails from SMBs, right?
Right.
Small businesses, medium-sized businesses, people that are just really asking for help, and it's very interesting to read. And sometimes, those folks may not have the consulting revenue or whatever, but usually when I read that, it's people reaching out that have basically been, I don't know, led down the wrong path, so to speak, through Penguin and Panda updates, and I really like connecting with them because, I guess in a way, when I was a publisher starting out, I would write to the Ad Rants of the world and Marketing Vox and some of the other marketing oriented bloggers that had just started, and really asked them for help and insight and things like that. So it's great to see that some of the SMBs and mom and pops out there are writing directly and asking for tips and help, and that also really helps things from an editorial perspective too, right? So if I get people contacting me on LinkedIn or Twitter or even email asking for specific questions, that's something that I can then send over to John Rampton, the current editor of SEJ, and be like, look, these are really some of the questions that we can answer with our content. Let's do this. So that's always really useful. And then, of course, I also still help with the on the advertising aspect and the growth of some of the promotions that we're doing and the conference sponsorships and things like that. So it's always great to talk to advertisers and sponsors.
If people want to reach out and connect with you, how do they contact you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, first of all, it's my name, Loren, Loren Baker, is pretty much my username for almost any social network I'm on. So twitter.com/Loren Baker, facebook.com/Loren Baker, LinkedIn user ID is Loren Baker. So that's the best way. Or just email me at Loren@AlphaBrand Media.
Loren, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you, Murray. It's always good to connect.
You too. If you're watching this video, if you're a fan of Search Engine Journal, if you've been a long time reader, we would love to know. Please let us know your thoughts and comments below. I know Loren will try and answer as many as possible. And if we get some things we really feel we need to cover, we'll try and do a second interview. I'm Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal. I'll see you next time.